Hey, so are you ready to like really learn how to make that money work? I mean,
Yeah.
whether it's investing or starting a business or even, real estate.
Yeah.
We're going to deep dive today into the ultimate guide for making money
Right.
by Rich Dad World
Oh, cool.
and uncover some surprising ways that like rich people actually think about building wealth.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not just like tactics.
Uh-huh.
It's like getting that mindset advantage.
Right.
You know?
It is super fascinating how the book emphasizes that you have to look beyond just like the obvious.
Right.
It's not really about the investment itself,
Right.
like whether it's a house or stock certificate or whatever.
Yeah.
It's more about understanding the unseen forces that drive the value.
Okay, so what does that actually mean? Like, give me an example.
So imagine you and like a really seasoned investor are looking at the same piece of real estate.
Yeah.
You might see a house,
Yeah.
maybe a yard that needs some work,
Yeah.
maybe even a leaky roof.
Yeah.
But the investor, they're seeing cash flow potential.
They're seeing market trends. They're thinking about how to leverage debt to create wealth.
Oh, wow.
It goes way beyond just the physical property.
So it's like they've got X-ray vision for potential.
Exactly.
Oh.
It's like training yourself to see those opportunities that other people are completely missing.
Okay.
And it applies to stocks, too. It's not just about a company's logo or a cool product or whatever.
Yeah.
Savvy investors analyze management, delve into market trends, and assess risk factors that, the casual observer isn't even going to think about.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that developing that rich mindset is actually like the key to unlocking that financial success,
Yes.
regardless of what investment I choose.
100%.
Okay.
And the book goes on to talk about two very common pitfalls that can really trap people who aren't already wealthy when it comes to investing.
Lay them on me. I'm ready to avoid these traps. The first one is fear of risk, which can really paralyze you into inaction.
Oh, yeah.
People end up, sticking with those really low return investments because they're terrified of losing anything.
I know that feeling.
Really?
Playing it so safe, you never actually get ahead.
Exactly.
Wow.
And then the flip side of that is being completely ignorant of the risks involved.
Right.
Which leads to impulsive decisions,
Oh, yeah.
almost like gambling your money away.
Yeah, it's like, do you play to win or do you play not to lose? I guess most of us are so worried about losing, we don't even step up to the plate.
And that's the thing, the truly wealthy, they don't just avoid risk, they actually reduce it.
Right.
And they do that through education.
Right.
They're constantly seeking out mentors, coaches, experts, soaking up knowledge.
Makes sense.
So they can make those really informed decisions.
Yeah, if you know the game, you're not just like throwing darts blindfolded. So what do you think is the most crucial knowledge gap for people to overcome when it comes to investing?
I think understanding how to properly assess risk is huge.
Oh, okay.
Learning how to analyze a company's financials, evaluate market trends, and just understanding how various economic factors can impact your investments would be a game changer for a lot of people.
It's like having that financial decoder ring.
Yes.
You can actually understand what the numbers are telling you.
It empowers you to actually make decisions based on logic and analysis rather than, fear or hype.
Got it. So we talked about investors, but what about somebody who wants to build their own business?
Right.
I'm really intrigued by what Rich Dad World has to say about entrepreneurship.
This is where it gets really interesting. Are you ready?
Hit me with it.
They put a huge emphasis on the importance of sales skills.
Really?
Like seriously huge.
And yet sales are important, but I would think passion or a great idea would come first.
Well, those are definitely crucial.
Right.
Rich Dad argues that sales are the foundation for everything else. Having strong sales skills translates into so many other areas. Negotiation leadership, even securing funding for your ventures.
Wow.
They see it as a fundamental skill, not just for salespeople.
So it's more than just closing deals. It's about like persuasion and influence. Being able to convince investors to back you or rally your team behind a vision or persuade a customer to see the value in what you're offering.
You got it.
Okay.
They share this anecdote about Robert Kiyosaki himself. He took a job at Xerox.
Okay.
Not for the paycheck, but specifically to master the art of selling.
Whoa. I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's pretty powerful.
He saw it as a long-term investment in his future success.
Wow.
And if you think about it, every entrepreneur at some point has to sell their vision.
Whether it's to customers or investors or even their own team.
It's not about being that pushy used car salesman.
Right.
It's about becoming a master communicator, a persuader who can genuinely connect with people and inspire them to take action.
And Rich Dad emphasizes that it's really about listening, understanding your customers' needs, and ultimately serving them. Yeah. It's not about manipulation.
Right.
It's about building relationships and creating genuine value.
That makes a lot of sense. But you mentioned that passion plays a role too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
What does Rich Dad have to say about that?
They warn about the very real risk of getting lost in the day-to-day grind of running a business.
Oh, yeah.
And losing sight of that initial spark that made you want to start in the first place.
Yeah, I can totally see that happening.
Right.
You're so focused on putting out fires and managing the day-to-day that you forget the bigger picture.
Right. It's like getting stuck in the, what was it called again?
The thick of thin things.
Right, the thick of thin things.
Yeah.
When you become so bogged down by those, administrative tasks and urgent problems that you neglect that strategic, passion-driven work that truly moves your business forward.
Yeah, you're just reacting to everything.
Right.
Instead of proactively creating your future.
And to combat this, they introduce a tool called the BI triangle.
Right.
Okay, the BI triangle. What's that all about?
So it's a framework for scheduling dedicated time to work on your business, not just in it.
Okay.
So imagine a triangle with like mission at the top. That's about revisiting your core purpose and your values.
Okay.
Then you've got team on one side, the people who help bring that mission to life. And then on the other side, you have cash flow. The fuel that keeps everything running.
So it's like you're not just putting out fires and making payroll, but you're actually taking time to work on strategy.
Right.
Develop your team, make sure the money's flowing in the right direction.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's about intentionally carving out time for each of those elements.
Right.
Because if you neglect any one of them, the whole structure starts to wobble.
That's a great visual.
It forces you to ask yourself, what area of my business needs more of my passion and focus right now?
It's a great question for any entrepreneur to ask themselves.
And speaking of challenges, Rich Dad has a really interesting perspective on failure.
Okay. I'm always up for a counterintuitive approach.
They actually encourage entrepreneurs to embrace failure.
Really?
To fail fast and fail often.
Isn't that kind of risky advice?
Not if you look at it from the right angle.
Okay.
They see failure not as a setback, but as a valuable learning opportunity. It's about constantly experimenting, refining your approach, and using those failures as stepping stones to something better.
It's like that saying, you either win or you learn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about adopting a growth mindset, understanding that the path to success is rarely a straight line. It's messy.
Yeah.
It's iterative.
Right.
And it involves plenty of stumbles along the way.
It's not about avoiding mistakes altogether.
Right.
It's about learning from them as quickly as possible and then iterating your way to success.
Exactly. And here's a really concrete example of how this mindset plays out in the real world.
Okay.
Rich Dad encourages entrepreneurs to be bold with their pricing.
Okay.
Even suggesting that you might be undervaluing yourself.
So instead of trying to be the cheapest option, I should actually aim higher.
They use Apple as a prime example.
Okay.
People aren't just paying for functionality with Apple products.
Right.
They're paying for that sleek design, the seamless experience, the brand prestige.
Right.
It's all about perceived value.
That makes sense. People will pay more for something if they believe it's worth it.
Exactly.
But how do you figure out what that sweet spot is? How do you know if you're charging too little or too much?
It all comes back to understanding your target customer.
Okay.
Their needs, their pain points,
right,
what they value, and ultimately what they're willing to invest in.
So it's not just about slapping a price tag on your product or service.
Right.
It's about understanding the perceived value you're offering.
Yes.
And communicating that effectively.
And to track your progress.
Okay.
And make sure you're on the right track. Rich Dad emphasizes the importance of KPIs.
KPIs. Okay.
Key performance indicators.
I hear that term thrown around a lot. Can you break down exactly what they are and why they matter?
Think of KPIs as the vital signs of your business. They're the metrics that tell you whether or not you're moving in the right direction.
Okay.
It could be things like lead response time.
Okay.
customer conversion rates, website traffic, anything that directly impacts your bottom line.
So it's about measuring what truly matters.
Right.
Not getting lost in a sea of data.
Exactly. Too many entrepreneurs try to measure everything.
Right.
Which can actually be paralyzing.
Yeah.
It's about identifying the handful of KPIs that are truly essential for your business.
Okay.
And then focusing your energy on improving those.
It's like having your finger on a pulse of your business.
Yes.
You can see what's working, what needs adjustment, and make those course corrections as you go.
And remember that quote we talked about earlier, fail, fast fail, often?
Right.
Well, KPIs are a great way to identify those failures quickly so you can adjust and keep moving forward.
It's all about embracing that iterative process.
Right.
Learning from those mistakes and using them to fuel your growth.
Now let's switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
And dive into real estate.
Okay.
Another area where Rich Dad offers some really game-changing perspectives.
I'm excited to explore the world of property.
Yeah.
What unique insights do they have?
One of the first things they emphasize is the importance of clarity.
Okay.
You know, most people know what they don't want in real estate,
right?
But successful investors are crystal clear about what they do want to achieve.
So it's not just about vaguely hoping to make money in real estate.
Right.
It's about having a specific goal in mind,
a
defined strategy, a detailed plan of action.
They talk about creating a detailed real estate investing plan, you know, where you calculate your monthly expenses, figure out the type of properties that you want to target, even determine how many properties you need to actually achieve your financial goals.
It's like having that roadmap to guide you.
Yes.
Instead of just wandering around aimlessly, hoping to stumble upon a good deal.
Exactly. And they also talk about shifting your mindset from focusing on appreciation to investing for cash flow.
Wait, so you're saying it's not all about flipping houses and hoping the price goes up?
Well, while appreciation is a nice bonus, it shouldn't be the primary focus.
Okay.
Rich Dad argues that you should see your properties as businesses that generate consistent income, not just potential lottery tickets.
So it's about creating that steady stream of rental income month after month, regardless of what the market's doing.
They use the 2008 housing crash as a cautionary tale.
Okay.
You know, appreciation can be fleeting, but cash flow provides stability, even when the market takes a downturn.
That's a great point. It's like building that financial foundation that can weather any storm.
And speaking of potential storms, they also emphasize the importance of planning for the worst, even while you're hoping for the best.
So it's not just about crunching the numbers, seeing if the deal looks good on paper.
It goes beyond that.
Okay.
Rich Dad stresses the importance of thorough due diligence, considering things like vacancy rates, repair costs, even zoning restrictions that could impact your plans down the line.
It's about anticipating those potential problems.
Yes.
And having a plan in place to deal with them. Rather than getting caught off guard and losing money.
It's like that old saying, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Exactly.
And when it comes to real estate, that preparation can be the difference between success and failure.
So we talked about clarity, cash flow, due diligence. What other gems does Rich Dad offer when it comes to real estate?
They actually offer some really practical advice on attracting and retaining good tenants.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Which is obviously crucial for generating that consistent cash flow.
Right.
They use this analogy.
Okay.
Imagine you're riding in a friend's brand new car.
Okay.
All luxurious and pristine. Then you get back into your own older car.
Suddenly my car feels pretty sad and outdated.
And that's the feeling you want to evoke in potential tenants.
Okay.
It's about making strategic upgrades to your property to create that wow factor.
So you're not necessarily talking about gutting the entire place and doing a luxury renovation.
Not at all. It's about those thoughtful improvements that make a big difference. Fresh paint, new carpets, maybe some updated appliances.
Makes sense.
It's about making your property stand out from the competition and appeal to those quality renters.
It's about creating that sense of something better that makes people want to live there.
They even tie this back to the broken window theory, but with a positive spin. So instead of focusing on how neglect attracts more problems, they highlight how improvements actually create a sense of pride and care among tenants.
So if you keep your property in good shape, it encourages tenants to do the same.
Uh-huh.
It's like creating that positive feedback loop.
Precisely. And lastly, Rich Dad emphasizes the importance of always being on the lookout for deals, using a system they call bird dogging.
Bird dogging?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
Essentially, it's having a network of people,
okay,
your bird dogs, who are constantly on the lookout for potential deals, especially those off-market gems that haven't even been listed yet.
So it's like having your own team of scouts out there.
Exactly.
Scouring the landscape for hidden treasures.
You recruit and train these bird dogs, teaching them what to look for.
Yeah.
You know, vacant properties, distressed sellers, those telltale signs that a property might be ripe for the picking.
Wow. That's a pretty powerful strategy.
Yeah.
I can see how that could give you a serious edge in the real estate game.
It's about expanding your reach.
Right.
And getting access to those deals that most people never even know about.
So we've covered real estate. What other areas does the ultimate guide for making money dive into?
Now let's shift our focus to the often intimidating world of paper assets.
Okay.
You know, stocks, bonds, mutual funds.
Yeah, that's definitely an area where I feel like I could use more knowledge.
Right.
What are some of the key insights that Rich Dad offers for navigating that world?
One of the first things they address is the danger of overconfidence.
Okay.
Especially when it comes to something as complex and unpredictable as the stock market.
I can see how that could be a trap.
Yeah.
You know, you start making a few good trades, and suddenly you feel like you're the Wolf of Wall Street.
It's easy to get swept up in that feeling.
Right.
Rich Dad reminds us that the market is essentially a collection of opinions.
Mm.
Some are informed, some are not.
Right.
It's impossible to predict its every move with 100% certainty.
So even the experts don't always get it right.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's why they emphasize the importance of humility.
Okay.
Acknowledging that you just have all the answers.
Right.
And being open to continuous learning.
So it's not about becoming some kind of stock market guru who knows everything.
Right.
It's about approaching it with a student's mindset.
Yes.
Always eager to learn more.
That's the key. And speaking of learning, they also encourage investors to learn from their mistakes.
Yeah, nobody likes to dwell on their losses, but I guess there's a lot to be gained from examining those mistakes, right?
Absolutely. They recommend keeping an investing journal.
Okay.
A detailed record of your trades and the reasoning behind them.
So it's not just about tracking your wins and losses.
Right.
But actually understanding why you made those decisions and what you can learn from them.
Exactly. It's about analyzing your past performance to identify patterns, potential blind spots, and those moments where your emotions might have gotten the better of you.
It's like having that personal coach who can help you see where you're going wrong and how to improve your game.
They also highlight the importance of knowing when to cut your losses. Oh, okay.
You know, a lot of investors cling to losing stocks, hoping that they'll magically bounce back.
Right.
But that can be a recipe for disaster.
It's like that sunk cost fallacy.
Exactly.
You're so emotionally invested in that stock that you can't see clearly anymore.
They actually quote the investing classic, Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits, which says that more money is lost by investors holding on to losing stocks than from almost any other reason.
That's a sobering thought. So sometimes the best move is to just cut your losses and move on.
It can be tough to swallow your pride.
Yeah.
But it's often the most rational decision.
It's about being objective and detaching from your emotions.
Right.
Which can be tough when you're dealing with your hard-earned money.
That's why it's so important to develop that rich mindset we talked about earlier.
Right.
It helps you make those tough decisions based on logic and analysis.
Okay.
Not fear or hope.
So it's all about staying informed, keeping your finger on the pulse of the market.
And being willing to adjust your portfolio as needed.
Yeah.
But how do you stay objective when there's so much information out there? It's easy to get overwhelmed or just follow the crowd.
That's where the next mindset shift comes in.
Okay.
Understanding both sides of an argument.
What do you mean by that?
It's easy to fall into the trap of confirmation bias.
Right.
You know, seeking out information that just confirms our existing beliefs.
Oh, I know I'm guilty of that.
We all do it.
Yeah, if I like a certain company, I tend to just gloss over any negative news about them.
But successful investors strive for objectivity, considering both the bull and bear case for every investment.
So you're saying I should actually seek out arguments against my favorite companies?
It might sound counterintuitive,
Yeah.
But it can actually help you make better decisions.
Okay.
By understanding both sides,
right?
You can control your emotions, you can avoid those impulsive buys,
Okay.
and ultimately you can strengthen your conviction in the investments you choose to make.
Yeah, that makes sense. But what about the emotional side of investing? How do you control those feelings of fear and greed
Right.
that can really cloud your judgment?
They bring up an interesting point about how we tend to treat money differently, depending on its source.
Okay.
You've heard of the house money effect in casinos, right?
Yeah, when people are more likely to gamble recklessly with winnings than with money they brought with them.
It's a fascinating psychological phenomenon.
Right.
And Rich Dad argues that a similar mentality can creep into investing.
So, like, if you make a big profit on one stock,
Right.
you're more likely to take bigger risks with that money than with your initial investment.
Exactly. They emphasize the importance of treating all money equally, regardless of its source.
So whether it came from your salary or an inheritance or a lucky stock pick, every dollar should be treated with respect and invested wisely.
Right. It's about remembering that all money represents value,
right,
hard work, and ultimately your financial freedom.
Okay, that's a great perspective. But let's be honest, with all the information overload out there, it's tempting to just rely on hot tips and recommendations, especially when you're first starting out.
It's understandable, but Rich Dad cautions against blindly following the herd, especially when it comes to investing.
Because if everyone's jumping on the same bandwagon, it's probably already too late, right?
That's often the case. It can lead to buying high and selling low.
Right.
The exact opposite of what you want to do.
Okay.
They stress the importance of independent thinking, of doing your own research and developing your own investment strategy based on solid analysis, not just someone else's opinion.
It's about becoming a savvy investor, not just a follower.
Exactly. It's about taking control of your financial destiny rather than letting outside influences dictate your actions.
This has been incredibly insightful. It's amazing how much of financial success comes down to adopting the right mindset.
Absolutely. It's not just about tactics and strategies. It's about shifting your perspective, developing those core beliefs that will empower you to make those sound financial decisions in any situation.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the ultimate guide for making money, what would you say is the single most important takeaway for our listeners?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the rich don't just stumble into wealth. They develop a mindset, a way of looking at money and opportunities that sets them apart.
It's like they have a different operating system running in their brains.
That's a great way to put it.
They see the world through a different lens.
And it's not just about being greedy or obsessed with money.
Okay.
It's about seeing the potential where others see obstacles, about understanding the unseen forces that drive value, and about taking calculated risks based on knowledge, not blind faith.
It's like they're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. They're thinking several moves ahead, anticipating the consequences of their actions, and always looking for that strategic advantage.
And they're constantly learning, adapting, and refining their approach. They understand that financial success is a journey, not a destination, and there's always more to learn.
So it's not about finding that one magic formula or get-rich-quick scheme. It's about cultivating a mindset that will guide you towards sound financial decisions in any situation.
Absolutely.
This has been an incredible deep dive. It's amazing how much we can learn from understanding how the wealthy think about money.
Yeah.
But let's get practical here. What's one action our listeners can take today to start putting these ideas into practice?
If I had to pick just one, I'd say start by identifying your biggest financial blind spot.
Okay.
What's that one area where you feel the most unsure, the most intimidated, or the least knowledgeable?
So maybe it's understanding how the stock market really works, or feeling confident negotiating a raise, or even just creating a budget that actually works for you.
Exactly. Once you've identified that blind spot, commit to learning more about it.
Okay.
Read a book, take a course, find a mentor, listen to a podcast, whatever it takes to start filling that knowledge gap.
Because knowledge is power.
Yeah.
Right? The more you understand, the more confident you'll feel making those important financial decisions.
And remember, it's not about becoming an overnight expert. It's about taking that first step, that initial leap into learning and growth.
Well said. I think that's a perfect note to end on. We've covered a lot of ground today, from understanding how the rich think about investing in real estate to the importance of sales skills and embracing failure.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it all comes back to developing that rich mindset, that foundation of beliefs and habits that will empower you to achieve lasting financial success.
It's been a pleasure diving into these concepts with you. Remember, financial freedom is within your reach. It just takes the right mindset and the willingness to take action.
To all our listeners out there, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and are feeling inspired to take control of your financial future. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.